Hello, friends and fellow board gamers. Welcome back to Board Games with Rob, and boy, am I excited to be here. I'm just fresh back from Gen Con 2025. I got a bunch of games that I've been playing and that I'm excited to share with you and provide you a little bit of an overview and my thoughts. I thought I'd start out with one of my biggest surprises, one that I knew would probably be hot, but one that, and I'm already foreshadowing my thoughts on it, one I didn't know I was going to like as much as I did, and that is Gatsby from Pandasaurus Games. It is designed by Bruno Cathala and Ludovic Maublanc. I took French. Maybe I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope so. Anyway, it's a two-player game, and it was one that was on my radar and one I knew I wanted to get, but one that I didn't rush right to get. And I didn't think it would be hard to get my hands on. Let me go down the table, kind of give you a little bit of a high-level overview of how the game plays, and then we'll come back here and I'll share my thoughts. Okay, as I mentioned at the onset, this is a two-player game. I've got the board set up with all the different components here. You're either going to be playing as Dorothy Williams or James Miller. And I've got, one person, Dorothy will be the black color and James will be the sort of pinkish color. And at the very beginning of the game, you'll just flip this really nice solid token and decide who's going to be first. Whoever is not first, the opposing player, will get to look at these tiles, these selection tiles, and there's a bunch of them here. I won't go through all of them, but they're going to pick one and place it in their section. So let's say that Dorothy went first, so James would be able to pick one of these. He picked two, and then choose one to keep, discarding the rest, and then that would go in his little action selection place over here. Because what's going to happen is people are going to be able to pick an action from one of these different actions that action spaces that you can take, with the exception that if somebody has a special action from these, they can also pick their own. The opposing player can't choose that one. And really, there's three different areas that you're going to be playing to. There is the cabaret, there's the finance center, and there's the racetrack. And all the different selections that you're going to have to choose from is going to be about doing a certain amount of actions on any one of these three sections of the board. And that's really it. The first player will go and they'll pick one of the action selections here, and they'll do that, and then the next person will go. They cannot choose the same action that the previous player did, and they'd have to do something else, and then they take that action, and then you're going to keep going until one of three things happens. There's a bunch of these people that you're trying to influence, and there's 5 different colors in the game. And what you're going to do is randomly place them out into these 3 sections, with a couple that are going to be left over that you won't see. So what you have out here is going to be random, and some of these you won't know what they are, as well as you're not going to know what's placed in the box. Now, you're trying to get either one of each color or 3 of any one color. So right out here, I'd see, hey, I've got 2 purple. If I could get these 2, if I could influence them and get a third, I would win. Or if I got any 5 of the colors, I would win. The other winning condition is if any of the characters are all taken from one of the sections, that will trigger the end of the game as well. And if that is triggered, then each of these characters have an amount of prestige points. They're the stars. The person with the most prestige points will win the game in that case. So what are you doing? If you're taking the cabaret section, all you're doing is, if you're doing this one, you're placing 2. Oh, and I forgot to mention the person who is not going first. So in this case, it would be James. He'd get to put his token on one of these gear spots. Now, the reason that's important is the way that you get one of these 2 characters on the end is by tracing a line from here to get this person, or from here to get this, or if any character has all 4 of these gear spots, then they get the center one that's face down. So in the cabaret, it's all going to be about placing tokens out, and you'll place per action 1 token orthogonally adjacent to a token that's out there. And there'll always be one out there. It's the second player will have a token on one of the gears. If I'm taking this action, then I'm putting 2 tokens out. And then if I cover up any of these actions on the board, this game's very combo-tastic. It'll trigger that as well. What's neat about this board is these are randomly placed. There's 4 tiles, and you just randomly place them in any order out into this little cutout in the board. So that's randomized at game setup. So that's that action. You're placing 2 if you're doing this, and then taking any of the combo or any of the actions that you might have covered up right after that. If you're placing your action token here, then you're placing only 1 token orthogonally adjacent, and then you're going up this track trying to pass the characters. Notice the arrows. If I ever get my token at or above one of those, then I get to take that character. Now, the neat mechanic here is if both tokens are at the same spot or level, then you go 1. But the second that somebody is behind the other player, when they take this action, they go 2. So it's kind of a little catch-up thing, and you're kind of looking at, oh, when will somebody trigger that? It is neat if the first person that gets the tile, that'll unlock another action that the next second player that gets to there will be able to perform, as well as whenever your token crosses one of these bonuses, you'll get to take that as well. But you're trying to get up the track to get one of these tiles as you go up there. If you were to take this selection, then you can do that, this go up the board as well, and then also take an action at the racetrack. That's real simple. All you're going to do is place your token on one of these tracks from left to right, and you're trying to get the most tokens in a track to win that person, to influence that person and take that tile. If you were to take this selection, then you would pick 2 tokens on 2 different tracks. They can't be the same. And then the other option is taking your special tile, which is a one-time action. You do that, and then this would be gone. So some of these tiles, like this one, for example, you can swap 2 of your influence tokens and do the racetrack. And there's a bunch of these out here. Here's 3 different actions you'd be able to take. You can, here's one, you'd be able to take the racetrack 3 times, but they wouldn't be able to be equal. And there's a bunch of these different selections that tiles that you've got to pick from as you play the game. Some of the bonuses, this is kind of a neat thing. You would swap 2 tiles. So you'd be able to look at 2 of these tiles and then secretly, without letting the other player know, swap them, which is really adds a neat dynamic to the game, because you may know that an opponent had looked at a specific tile, and so you might choose a tile and choose that one you knew they looked at, and maybe you swap it, or maybe you pretend you're swapping it so they don't know that that tile's there anymore. Really, really neat. There's other things that will allow you to swap tokens. So for example, if you're going after all these gears, you might, and you have a bunch of these tokens out and somebody else, has a gear token, you can swap 2 of those tokens. And now all of a sudden you've got a majority of those gears. And if you get all 4 of them, you get to take that. So it's very, very simple. You're just taking one of these actions, trying to influence the people. You're trying to get three of one color, like I said, or 1 of each of the 5 colors. And the person who either does that first, or if neither of those are done, the one that has the most prestige wins the game. Let's go up and let me tell you about what I thought about Gatsby. All right, so Gatsby. It's very simple. First of all, I really enjoyed the book. I read the book. I've watched the movies. There's the Leonardo DiCaprio movie. There's the older movie that I remember watching in high school. It's a good classic book, and I do tend to like Bruno's designs. I was on the fence with this. I thought, oh, okay, it's a very simple game. I'd read a little bit about it, hadn't played it though. Once I played it and noticed the dynamics and the different strategies that you've got, the different decisions you have to make, boy, was I blown over. And it was very combo-tastic. And I love games that trigger different actions, right? I would be able to go up and cover up an action, which would then allow me to trigger another action, then swap my tiles. And it was just so neat and strategic. And I was so blown away by trying to go a certain strategy that on my first play, I triggered the end of the game without realizing I was setting myself up to fail. I had the fewest amount of prestige points, triggered the end, and didn't even look at the other player who had, it was Angela, who's pictured right there beside me. She and her husband had gone to Gen Con with me and a bunch of others, but I digress. Squirrel. Um, but it was yeah, she wound up winning the game without thinking she would. I had a ton of characters, but I didn't have three of a kind or five of the different ones. She wound up having more prestige points and she won the game. I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe I did that. Guys, I'm passionate about this because I'm excited. It plays really quick. It's very easy to teach. The artwork is gorgeous. It's got this, it's hard to tell, but there's this like gold embossing in on the board, and the instructions very clear. It's kind of neat how the board is much bigger. It's like a 6 tile board, so it's big. Um, Components are great, really nice wooden pieces, and that first player to or not only is it the first player token, but it's the action token, really thick. Yeah, this is I would rate this a 9, a solid 9. It's for a lot of different reasons. It's just a gorgeous production. It's so fun to play. It's like I said, I keep calling it combo-tastic. You can set yourself up to do a bunch of different things. The whole being able to swap things and maybe spoil somebody's plan. We had kind of gotten talking, Angela and I, and she had mentioned, well, it's kind of take that. It is to a degree, but you're not. It's not directly. Yes, you are kind of messing with your opponent to a degree, but I mean, you know what you're getting into. You're trying to get those people, and you're trying to cleverly misdirect them to think that, oh, did he switch those people? Am I going down the right track? Because you can swap people among tracks. I can take them from the finance center and put them on the racetrack, and I might be getting ready to get that next person on the finance track, but well, my opponent put it over on the racetrack. And anyway, it's a great game, and it's one that I will get out and play any chance I got. It's definitely a keeper. So anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've had a chance to play it, what do you think about these types of games? Are you a big Bruno fan? Did you get a chance to play it? Is this type of combo-like type game something that would interest you? Let me know your thoughts. Engage with me. Tell me what you thought. And more than anything, folks, be kind to one another and have fun gaming. Bye.